To fuel their incredibly high-energy lifestyle, these otters have a demanding daily requirement. They need to catch and consume over a kilogram of fish each, every single day. As they gracefully slip into the frigid water, a remarkable adaptation immediately kicks in. Their dense, oily fur acts like a perfectly tailored natural wetsuit. This incredible coat is designed to trap a layer of insulating air right next to their skin, protecting them from the biting cold of the near-freezing river. However, this particular winter presents a formidable challenge. A thick, unyielding sheet of ice has sealed off most of the river's surface, effectively hiding their primary food source from view. Fortunately for them, otters are master divers, possessing an almost unbelievable ability to hold their breath for an astonishing 8 minutes at a time. This impressive skill allows them to leave the world above and explore the vast, silent world that exists beneath the frozen ceiling, searching for the elusive fish that swim in the dark currents. The river is a dynamic and ever-changing environment. As powerful winds shift and temperatures fluctuate, the crucial breathing holes in the ice are constantly freezing over or opening up in new locations. Because of this, each morning must begin with a systematic and thorough patrol of their territory. They methodically check every single opening, assessing each one for its potential as a hunting ground. Eventually, their relentless persistence is rewarded. They find a promising spot and begin their underwater hunt. The fish they manage to catch might seem small, but they are nutritional powerhouses, packed with the essential proteins and fats the otters desperately need to generate body heat and survive the harsh winter conditions. It's a life-sustaining bounty that remains completely inaccessible to most other predators as long as the ice holds firm. But this hard-won success in the frozen world hasn't gone unnoticed. High above, a pair of watchful, predatory eyes is tracking their every move, waiting for an opportunity. Even the majestic bald eagles, perched high in the skeletal branches, look on with a palpable sense of envy. They, too, depend on the river's bounty of fish for their survival. But the thick, unyielding ice barrier has effectively cut them off from their primary food source, leaving them grounded and desperately hungry. Unable to hunt for themselves in these frozen conditions, they are forced to resort to a bold and aggressive new strategy: piracy. A bald eagle is a truly formidable opponent, a feathered titan armed with a razor-sharp beak designed for tearing and powerful vice-like talons that could easily inflict serious, if not fatal, injury on a river otter. The otters, however, have their own tactics for dealing with these aerial thieves. By hunting in pairs, they can attempt to work as a team, with one otter acting as a vigilant lookout while the other quickly consumes its catch. It's a tense and risky arrangement, but as long as this river remains a frozen fortress, the otters will have to contend with this constant, menacing harassment from above. Surviving here is a test of will and ingenuity, and finding a meal in these harsh, unforgiving conditions requires a very specific and highly refined set of skills. Down on the snow-covered riverbank, something has completely captured a red fox's attention. He stands utterly motionless, a statue of crimson fur against the white landscape, listening with an almost supernatural intensity. Deep beneath the thick blanket of snow, completely oblivious to the lethal danger lurking just above, a small rodent scurries through its intricate network of subterranean tunnels. To secure this hidden, well-insulated meal, the fox's next move has to be executed with absolute, pinpoint precision. In this game of life and death, there will be no second chances. But as the old saying goes, if at first you don't succeed, you try and try and try again. Despite the fox's incredible, innate skill as a hunter, there's always an undeniable element of luck involved in the pursuit of prey. And today, it seems that luck is simply not on his side. After several failed attempts, he knows it's time to conserve his energy. He'll have to move on and find a different opportunity. Fortunately for him, there are often easier meals to be had, provided you know exactly where to look. High up in the vast, sweeping highlands of Yellowstone, the park's expansive lakes are still locked firmly in winter's icy grip. These immense bodies of water are far from thawing. They won't see open water for at least another month, maybe longer. Right now, they're capped with a solid, seemingly impenetrable layer of ice, which is over a meter thick in many places. But beneath that formidable frozen surface, a hidden world teems with life. Fish, prized by predators of all kinds, swim in the frigid depths, and that includes our clever fox. When it comes to this particular food source, however, all of the fox's cunning, his agility, and his acrobatic skill are rendered utterly useless. He simply can't get through the ice. In this challenging environment, only one animal has developed the technology to consistently break through that barrier: humans. But even with all their specialized gear, the augers, the lines, the shelters, the ice fishermen are finding it tough going today. The conditions are harsh, and the fish aren't biting. The fox, ever the opportunist, waits patiently nearby. He watches their every move, a silent observer in the snow, hoping that their efforts, their technology, and a little bit of their luck might just pay off for him too. A discarded catch would be a welcome reward for his patience. In the vast, unforgiving landscape of Yellowstone, every single calorie is a precious commodity, a vital piece of the survival puzzle. It's certainly not a grand feast laid out before him, but for a creature emerging from the long sleep of winter, any meal is a victory. It's a rare sight to see wild animals here venture this close to people, as most maintain a healthy, instinctual distance. This one, however, is a notable exception. He's a magnificent grizzly bear, a true icon of the American wilderness, and he's equipped with one of the most sophisticated sensory tools in the entire animal kingdom: his remarkable nose. This isn't just an ordinary sense of smell, it's a biological marvel. With it, he can detect the faintest scent of potential food from over a mile away, a genuine superpower that is absolutely essential for his survival in this challenging environment. Right now, that incredible olfactory ability has locked onto something promising, a scent carried on the crisp mountain air that signals a potential meal. Billions of olfactory receptors packed into his snout have meticulously guided him on his quest, leading him not towards the fishermen casting their lines nearby, but to a small, secluded pond tucked away from the main river. Here, an early spring thaw has just begun its work, melting the thick surface ice, and, in doing so, releasing a tantalizing aroma from whatever lies preserved in the frigid water beneath. The water is still brutally, shockingly cold, a testament to the lingering grip of winter. But for a hungry grizzly driven by instinct and an empty stomach, an icy plunge is no deterrent at all. He wades in without hesitation, probing the murky, frigid depths with his paws and snout, patiently searching for the source of the scent that drew him here. Finally, after a moment of exploration, his powerful jaws close around his prize. With a heave of his massive shoulders, he hauls it from the water, a hard-won meal secured against the odds. The grizzly bear has stumbled upon a truly remarkable sight: the carcass of a bison, perfectly preserved by the unforgiving cold. It's a scene straight out of the distant past, a snapshot frozen in time. The most likely scenario is that this unfortunate giant fell through a patch of thin ice at the very beginning of winter. Since that fateful moment, it has been locked in a natural deep freeze, its body remaining almost entirely intact until the spring thaw began its work. For a bear just emerging from the long, lean months of hibernation, this discovery is an incredible, almost unbelievable stroke of luck. His body is depleted, desperate for sustenance after surviving solely on its fat reserves. A find of this monumental size, packed with the calorie-dense protein and essential fats he so desperately needs, is a game changer. This single meal will provide enough energy to sustain him for many days, perhaps even weeks, allowing him to fully recover his strength and bulk. However, there's a significant catch. He has to keep this treasure all to himself. The potent, unmistakable smell of the thawing carcass is a powerful beacon, traveling quickly and far on the wind. It acts as an open invitation, a dinner bell ringing out to every hungry scavenger in the surrounding area. It isn't long before the first visitor arrives. A lone coyote appears on the periphery, its movements a mixture of caution and intense curiosity. This is likely the first bear it has seen in months, a formidable giant guarding a feast. The coyote understands the power dynamics at play. Even a whole pack of its kind would be no match for the sheer size and overwhelming power of a grizzly. They know better than to challenge him directly for such a valuable prize. But they also know a universal truth of the wild. Where there's a feast of this magnitude, there are often scraps left behind for the patient and the persistent. Sensing the impending competition, the bear acts on instinct. In a desperate attempt to protect his bounty, He begins the laborious process of covering the massive bison with clumps of grass and mud. This behavior, known as caching, serves a dual purpose. It will help to mask the pervasive scent from other predators, and will also slow down the inevitable process of decay, giving him more precious time to enjoy his hard-won, life-sustaining meal. But hunger is a powerful, primal motivator, and it's driving this wolf pack to take ever greater risks. For these predators, a single bison calf represents a vital, life-sustaining food source. Securing a meal of this size would be a monumental victory, providing enough nourishment to keep their growing pups fed and healthy for several days. The challenge, however, is immense. The bison herd presents a formidable, almost impenetrable fortress of muscle and horn. These massive herbivores are incredibly powerful, and they possess a deep, instinctual understanding that there is safety in numbers. In the face of a threat, they don't scatter. They stand their ground, forming a solid defensive wall around the most vulnerable members of the group, the young. To have any chance of success against such a well-organized defense, the wolves must rely on their greatest strength, their ability to work together as a perfectly coordinated team. Their initial strategy is a classic one, designed to create chaos and confusion. They probe the edges of the herd, nipping and feinting, hoping to split the group and, in the ensuing panic, isolate a vulnerable calf from the protective circle of its mother and other adults. But the bison are resolute, their defensive line holding firm against the wolves' relentless pressure. The pack's attempts to fracture the herd have failed. With their primary strategy thwarted, the wolves' only remaining option is a direct and desperate assault. It's a bold, almost reckless dash straight into the heart of the herd, a high-stakes gamble to try and physically drag a calf out from the safety of the group. This is an incredibly dangerous maneuver, a true test of courage and commitment. A single, well-aimed kick from an adult bison, weighing over a ton, could easily crush a wolf's ribs or skull, resulting in instant death. As one of the boldest wolves closes in on a calf, its mother immediately intercepts. With lowered head and a furious snort, she makes it clear she is ready to defend her young to the death. For a moment, it looks like the hunt is over, the risk too great. But then, in a miraculous and awe-inspiring display of unity, the rest of the herd surges forward as one. They close ranks, tightening their formation and presenting an unstoppable wall of force that drives the predators back, their hunt ending in failure. The calf is safe, its life spared for another day. The wolves' high-risk gamble, a desperate attempt to feed their pack, has failed. For now, they and their hungry pups will have to endure the pangs of an empty stomach, retreating back into the shadows of the wilderness. Elsewhere in this vast landscape, another family's survival depends not on a failed hunt, but on a different kind of fortress, one they have built themselves. A beaver's entire world, its very existence, revolves around an intricate series of dams they have meticulously engineered and constructed. These remarkable structures are the cornerstone of their civilization, transforming what were once small, fast-flowing streams into a sprawling network of deep, calm ponds. This watery sanctuary serves multiple critical purposes. It not only provides a reliable and easily accessible food supply of tender bark and aquatic plants, but it also protects their most precious asset, their home, the lodge. This central structure is shielded from the destructive power of floods, a constant threat in this environment. Inside its thick, insulated walls, the family finds a secure refuge from the many predators that roam the surrounding forest. Creating this aquatic paradise is nothing short of an epic, lifelong undertaking. It's a continuous cycle of building, repairing, and expanding. Beneath the tranquil surface of the pond, the dam reveals its true scale. It is a massive underwater wall, an imposing barrier that can be nearly 3 meters wide at its base. It stands as a true marvel of natural engineering, painstakingly constructed from a lattice of logs and branches. This wooden framework is then reinforced with heavy rocks for stability, and meticulously sealed with a plaster of mud and aquatic plants. Constantly maintaining and perfecting this masterpiece is absolutely crucial for their survival. The dams must be completely watertight to be effective, holding back the immense pressure of the water. But this year, an unusually early thaw has created a serious problem, threatening the integrity of their carefully crafted world. The dam has sprung a leak. In the world of beaver engineering, even the faintest trickle of water is a serious cause for alarm, a sign of a potential structural failure that requires immediate investigation and swift repair. With an impressive network of 5 separate dams to maintain on this single stretch of the river, the beavers are constantly on patrol, diligently working, and truly living up to their reputation as nature's most industrious builders. Meanwhile, tucked away inside the main lodge, safe and dry from the rising waters outside, the youngest members of the beaver family are already honing their own construction skills. They practice with small sticks and mud, learning the craft that will define their lives. When they reach about 2 years old, these young apprentices will leave the familiar safety of their parents' lodge to strike out on their own, ready to find a suitable territory and build impressive dams of their very own. But for now, a threat is growing. Outside the lodge, the water level continues to rise at an unsettling pace. If the heavy mountain snowpack melts too quickly under the strengthening sun, the resulting flood could surge down the valley and overwhelm their carefully constructed defenses. Such a powerful deluge would put not only their dams, but the lodge itself and the vulnerable young kits inside in grave danger. High above the floodplain, a different family drama is unfolding. Nestled in the hollow of an old, towering tree, the runt of the great horned owl brood is still alive and holding on. It's been a month since she and her siblings hatched, and one of them has already taken its first courageous leap of faith, leaving the nest behind. He's now perched safely, if a little awkwardly, in a nearby tree, observing the world from a new perspective. But for the others, fledging is a daunting prospect. An adult great horned owl's wingspan will eventually stretch to an impressive 1.5 meters. But right now, the owlet's wings are still too small and their muscles too weak for sustained, controlled flight. And with the nest positioned so precariously high off the ground, that first jump into the open air takes a tremendous amount of courage. It is a leap into the unknown. The second chick seems ready, or at least, she's trying to convince herself she is. With a determined shuffle, she makes her way to the very edge of the nest, the vast, open air just inches from her beak. She peers over the precipice, a dizzying drop to the world below. For a moment, it looks like she's going to go for it, to follow her sibling into the great unknown. But then, a wave of hesitation washes over her. She pulls back, retreating to the relative safety of the nest. Maybe not today. Building up the courage to take that first, terrifying leap is a monumental task for these young birds. It's not a simple decision. It's a battle against instinct, a true test of will. This process of mustering bravery can take days, and then more days. Sometimes, it feels like an eternity as the chick repeats the same ritual. Approach the edge, look down, and retreat. Each attempt is a small step forward, a tiny victory in a long, internal struggle. As long as the chicks remain in the nest, their devoted parents will continue to provide for them. The familiar sight of a parent arriving with a fresh catch is a powerful incentive to stay put in the comfort of home. However, that free meal service is about to come to an abrupt and decisive end. The parents understand that tough love is the only way to push their offspring out into the world. Their food deliveries will become less and less frequent, the portions smaller. This isn't cruelty, it's a calculated strategy. The growing pangs of hunger will eventually become a more powerful motivator than the fear of falling. The choice will soon become stark. Stay in the nest and starve, or take a leap of faith and learn to hunt for yourself. The parents are essentially telling their young, the buffet is closing, it's time for you to fly. All across the vast wilderness of Yellowstone, a spectacular natural event is unfolding. Billions of aquatic insects are emerging from the rivers, a sudden and dramatic explosion of life. Species like the salmon fly and the mayfly are taking to the air in massive swarms, driven by the ancient instinct to breed. Throughout the long, harsh winter, they have been living a hidden life beneath the water's surface as nymphs, patiently growing and developing. Now, their transformation is complete, but their time in this new form is fleeting. Their adult lives will last just a few short, precious hours, only long enough for them to find a mate, pair up, and lay their eggs back in the water, ensuring the next generation. However, this brief, airborne existence is fraught with peril. Any flies that linger too long on the surface of the water are in immediate danger of being snapped up from below. Beneath the shimmering currents, hungry cutthroat trout have been waiting for this very moment. These insects represent a vital, high-energy food source for these endangered fish, and after a long journey, the cutthroat are ravenous. This feeding frenzy follows their arduous migration upriver. They have battled the currents to reach the shallow summer streams where they will spawn. This critical migration is triggered by a specific environmental cue, the swelling of the rivers during the annual spring thaw. This year, an unusually early melt meant that some of these trout began their marathon swim a full 2 weeks ahead of their normal schedule. The arrival of the trout is, in turn, a critical moment for the wider Yellowstone ecosystem. An incredible 23 different species of predator, from bears to eagles, rely on these fish as a primary food source during the summer months. Consequently, any significant change in the trout's migration schedule could have disastrous, cascading consequences throughout the food web. For instance, ospreys have flown thousands of miles, all the way from South America, with the specific purpose of feeding on Yellowstone's abundant fish. Their own survival, and that of their chicks, depends on the trout being here, right on time. In the heart of Yellowstone, the rhythm of life beats strong, driven by the urgent need to feed the next generation. High above in the trees, birds are tending to their nests, where hungry chicks wait with open mouths. These tiny, vulnerable creatures desperately need the protein-rich food their parents bring back, a constant supply that fuels their rapid growth. Down in the crystal-clear streams, another family is busy with the same goal. Otters are taking full advantage of the seasonal bounty, fattening up on the abundant cutthroat trout that have returned to spawn. This dedicated mother is fishing, not just for herself, but to feed her 2 young, playful pups. The spawning trout are a treasure trove of nutrition, their bodies filled with energy-rich eggs, making them the perfect snack for growing youngsters. Every catch she brings back is a vital lesson and a life-sustaining meal. Next year, these pups will need to be hunting for themselves, navigating these same waters with the skills their mother is teaching them now. But for this season, they are still completely reliant on her for both food and protection. The wilderness, however, is full of challenges. Male otters, driven by their own hunger, have been known to steal food directly from the young. So, when a lone male approaches, the mother's instinct kicks in immediately. She doesn't hesitate, quickly and aggressively chasing him away to ensure her pups get their fair share. Meanwhile, the meadows and forests are alive with a different kind of feeding frenzy. Over 60 species of butterfly gracefully flutter from flower to flower, a vibrant, silent spectacle of nature's artistry. They spend the long summer days feeding on the sweet nectar that fuels their flight. But they're not the only ones with a taste for this sugary treat. Darting through the air with incredible speed and agility, hummingbirds are also fueling up, their iridescent feathers flashing in the sun as they hover, a blur of motion in the endless search for energy. Some of the creatures here have undertaken truly epic journeys to arrive. Take this tiny visitor, for example, who has traveled all the way from Mexico to be here. This is a calliope hummingbird, and at a mere 3 grams, he holds the title for the smallest bird in all of North America. He's not the only long-distance traveler either. Rufous hummingbirds have also made the arduous trip to this mountain paradise. This particular female has flown an astonishing 2,000 miles, a monumental effort just to find the perfect conditions to raise her chicks during the brief but bountiful Yellowstone summer. However, this year presents a new and worrying challenge. Even at these significant elevations, where the air is typically cool and crisp, temperatures have been consistently higher than normal. This unseasonable warmth has had a direct and damaging impact on the local flora, leading to stunted growth and noticeably fewer blooms for some critical flower species. This scarcity of nectar-rich flowers creates a ripple effect, making survival much harder for the hummingbirds that depend on them. Venturing even further up into the rugged mountain terrain, we find another, very specialist mammal, whose entire existence is tied to an abundance of this unique alpine vegetation. This is the Pika, a small, industrious relative of the rabbit. When winter descends upon these peaks, this entire landscape will be buried beneath a staggering 3 meters of snow. But the Pika has a different strategy for survival. Rather than hibernating or migrating to warmer climates, it will tough it out, remaining active in a network of tunnels beneath the snowpack. To ensure they have enough to eat throughout the long, harsh winter, they spend every waking moment of the summer stockpiling food. It's a frantic race against time, a desperate effort to get all the harvesting done before the incredibly short growing season comes to an abrupt and frozen end. Every single journey these small creatures undertake means running a perilous gauntlet of predators, a constant threat lurking in the shadows. At the very first sign of trouble, a sharp, distinct alarm is raised, echoing across the rocky landscape to warn others of the impending danger. The pika's rather odd and charming appearance isn't just for show. It's a masterful adaptation all about keeping warm in a harsh, unforgiving environment. Their plump, perfectly round shape is a clever evolutionary trick, designed to minimize their surface area and thus reduce heat loss to the biting cold. To further combat the chill, a luxurious coat of thick fur covers their entire body, providing exceptional insulation. This dense fur even extends down to the soles of their feet, covering their toes completely. However, this incredible adaptation comes with a significant trade-off. Being so perfectly dressed for sub-zero temperatures can cause a pika to dangerously overheat, especially during the intense height of summer. This physiological constraint means they can only survive at the very highest, coolest elevations, where the air remains crisp and the sun's warmth is less oppressive. Meanwhile, for another mountain resident, the beaver, this year presents its own unique set of challenges. Even their most robust and well-constructed dam may not be enough to ensure their vital pond stays deep enough for survival. The river level here has fallen to a record low, a worrying development that presents the beaver mother with a brand new, urgent problem. By sheltering deep inside the safety of the lodge, her kits are well protected from the many predators that roam the area. The lodge is a fortress, and the only way in or out is through a hidden entrance submerged under the water. But with the water levels dropping so precariously low, the lodge's secret entrance may soon be exposed to the open air. This would leave the mother and her vulnerable new kits completely exposed and defenseless. Faced with this dire situation, she decides she must take an incredible, high-stakes gamble to protect her family. The mother beaver is on a critical mission, relocating her kits to a safer lodge further downstream. Undertaking this journey in the open vulnerability of broad daylight is an extremely dangerous gamble, fraught with peril from predators. Speed is absolutely essential, but there's a major complication. The very dams that she so skillfully constructed for protection now stand as a series of formidable obstacles in her path. Attempting to go around them would consume far too much precious time, leaving her and her young exposed for longer than is wise. She is left with only one viable option. She must navigate directly over the top of the structures. This creates an incredibly tense and precarious moment for both the devoted mother and her vulnerable baby. Each crossing is a test of her strength and the kit's resilience. With one barrier successfully conquered, they press onward, heading up a nearby tributary that will finally lead them toward the safety and security of their new home. The journey is far from over, but they are one step closer to sanctuary.